Welcome to Aiken This Week. I'm Emery Langston. Today my guest is Mr. Richard Johnson, who is the chairman of the Municipal Election Commission. And we're so pleased to have Richard here with us today. Thank you for taking a few minutes out of your day to talk to us about a very timely subject, I believe, with the elections.
Well, thank you, Emery. It is my pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for the invitation.
Oh, my pleasure. Let's just jump right into our conversation. And Richard, you've been a part of this process for a while. So will you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be involved with the Election Commission?
Well, I have always been interested in government. I've always attended city council meetings. And when a vacancy occurred some years ago on the Election Commission, I was approached by City Council, and they expressed an interest, and so I accepted the invitation, and that was the beginning of a journey for more than 30 years now.
So you've been on the commission for 30 plus.
Yes, 30 plus.
And I'm sure that you have seen many changes along the way.
I certainly have. and for the most part, they've all been positive.
Yes.
When I was first appointed, all elections in the City of Aiken were at large. There were 9 precincts. Population was about 15,000. Today we have 23 precincts. The population is about 30,000 now. So that's the growth. So, and we have held elections throughout that period.
Sure.
Earlier, all elections were conducted with paper ballots. Mm-hmm. We graduated from paper ballots to the vote-o-matic. That was a card reading machine.
Right.
And if you can remember, I think it was in election 2000 mm-hmm. when they had the hanging chad things in Florida.
Yes, the hanging chad.
Hanging chad, yes, right. So we graduated from the vote-o-matic uh-huh. to the current machines, voting machine, which is computerized, mm-hmm. and that's where we are now. We doing our elections on the computerized machines, and that's an improvement.
Yes. Yes, I'm sure time-wise too, thinking back on those years where you had paper ballots.
Oh, yes. We had, everything was done by hand.
Done by hand, and then the evolution of how we do it.
Right, but even everything was done by hand, it was done good,
yes.
well.
Yes.
So the only thing the new technology is kind of speed up the process.
Right, sure. It's amazing on election night when you're watching the TV coverage anymore how fast those results do come in.
Right.
But definitely a testament to technology and the age that we are in.
Yes.
So I think that's really interesting that over the period of time that you really have seen a number of changes.
Yes, I have.
Well, let's talk about the commission itself for a few minutes, and if you could give us some insight to who is on it and how it is represented.
Well, currently, when the commission is made up of 3 persons. Mm-hmm. The commission itself is established by the South Carolina General Assembly. The commission members are appointed by City Council, and the only function of the Municipal Election Commission is to conduct elections for the city. And we don't meet on a regular basis. We'd meet during election time, during the years of election. And an election, the process of an election is approximately 7 months. From city council designates a time for an election, and from that we go through the process of the things that has to be done to make the election happen. So it's about a 7-month process.
And I think that that's something that your average person who walks into their precinct or their poll on election day, and they go and they cast their ballot and they walk out, folks don't really understand that it is an extensive process. And as you and I were talking before, there's so many deadlines that have to be met, and things have to fall a certain order.
Everything is time sensitive. From the time the announcement is made to and including the day of election, it's time sensitive. We have, once the date for the election has been established, then we have to establish a filing period. Mm-hmm. The opening for filing, the closing date of filing, the time for the primary, and then time for a runoff if necessary. Mm-hmm. And of course, then the time to get the voters, the ballots ready to the Election Commission for certification, and we certify them and then pass that on to the County Commission for Election Commission. And that's the process. And in addition to that, then we have to establish polling location for each precinct, and then we have to staff each polling place. And the law is that municipal election, 3 poll managers for the first 500 voters in a precinct, and 1 additional poll manager for every additional 500 people. So a precinct with, let's say, 1,000 would be six poll managers. Mm-hmm. No, would be 4 poll managers. Mm-hmm. And and then every 500 voters is 1 additional poll manager, and that's the law.
So that over the years, we when you first began, we were 15 precincts.
15,000 voters.
15,000 voters. I'm sorry.
Registered voters. Yeah.
Right. And so
not registered voters. 15. The population of the city was 15,000.
15,000.
Yes.
So so now we're up to 30,000.
About 30,000
folks.
Population.
And when you start thinking about that, and then you start thinking about the number of precincts we have, which is 23.
23.
It takes quite a number of folks.
It takes a lot of manpower, but then it's still 3 people.
Right.
3 people manage 9 precincts, and not 3 people manage 23 precincts.
Right, right. So the folks, and we didn't talk about this, but the folks that y'all have who volunteer their time, or not volunteer their time, but they have to, there's training involved.
They're trained, right.
To be a poll manager.
Right.
I know that they go through extensive training, and then the day of the election, and so there's quite a crew that has to go out on election day.
Days, right.
And I'm sure that certain election years are probably busier than other election years.
Yes. And here in the city, we have 2 election every 2 years. Elections are staggered. One year, it's the mayor and 3 council members. The second year, it's just 3 council members. So our last election was the mayor and the 3 council members. So next year, the next election would be just 3 council members.
Right, right. So this particular year that we're in, we don't have anything going on, but it'll be the next year.
Yeah, next year.
Well, I think that's a perfect segue into my next question for you. Right now, our city is a 6-1. It's a single member district with one member being the mayor that's at large. And can you talk about how that how that works and how that has changed over the years?
Yes. Well, when I was first appointed to council, all elections were conducted at large. As time progressed, there was efforts put forth to change the voting method. So the city did, and they went from at large to a 4-2-1 single member district. That's 4 council members were elected from single member district. 2 council members were elected at large, and the mayor at large. Well, that system worked for a period of time, but it kind of ran its course, and so council decided that they needed to make a change. So they went to the 6-1 single member district. Now each city council member now is elected from a district, and the mayor is elected at large. So that's how that 6-1 came into being.
Right.
And they had a referendum to change from the 4-2-1 to the 6-1, and that was an election that we conducted.
Right. Right, and that has not been in the too distant past.
No,
that happened.
Right, that's, I guess, 2 years ago maybe.
Right. Well, let's talk a little bit about it, and I think it's important to kind of remind our viewers that our discussion today is really revolving around the municipal elections committee. What happens right here in our city?
Right, correct.
Because, they're county, they're state, and of course federal. But I want you to talk a little bit about the relationship between the Municipal Election Commission and the Aiken County Election Commission.
The relationship is very good between Municipal Election Commission and the Aiken County Election Commission. The Municipal Election Commission contracts some of our work to the Aiken County Election Commission because they have the facility and the equipment to tabulate our ballots. Now, over the years, we have used Aiken Electric Co-op to tabulate our ballots. We have used University of South Carolina Aiken to tabulate our ballots, and then of course Aiken County Election Commission. But Aiken County Election Commission is our main source now for tabulating the ballots for us.
How are the ballots determined?
How are they determined? You mean where they are originated from, or
the results?
How the results?
Well, what I'm specific, we can talk about both of those, but specifically, when something is to go on a ballot to be voted on by the citizens, where does that information come from?
It originates from council, because for every election, council establishes a date for the election and the purpose of the election. So that originates from city council.
So if there was that when a term is about to expire, then they will let the election commission know. And if they wanted to put something, a question or something like that to the voters, to the citizenry, then that would be referendum, and then that would be something
It would be on that ballot.
on that
Yeah,
ballot.
Yes, right.
And then we go back to the question that we were talking about earlier, because your process of hitting these marks. So when something like that happens, y'all have to have an extended period of time prior to when it's actually going to hit that ballot.
Oh, yes. Yes, we have to make sure that everything is in place, and advertising.
Right.
That's to get the word out to the public, and there's a system for that. It's you have to establish filing dates, open and closing for filing dates, and where the candidates are to file. Now, Aiken has partisan elections, so, and that means Democrats and Republicans.
Right.
So we have to advertise where the Democratic candidates must file and where the Republican candidates must file, and if there's a petition candidate, where that petition candidate must get filed also.
Okay.
Now, the Republican candidate would file at the Republican office, Democratic office, and a petition candidate would file at the city office with the city clerk.
Okay.
That they would provide that information, and so that's the process.
Right. Right. And processes from municipality to municipality can vary.
Yes, well, the procedures are the same because this is a statewide
Right.
ordinance or law, and so it's the same
Across the board.
across the board.
But as far as the
but the difference is some municipalities are nonpartisan,
right.
and of
And
course
some-
Aiken is partisan, which is
Right.
Aiken is always the best in everything to me.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Well, we've talked about this, and we've touched on it a little bit. When the polls close, there is, and before the polls open, what does it take to orchestrate all of this, this election process? Because I know that with the electronic ways that we do things now, it does make a lot of things a lot easier when the polls close. But could you walk us through a little bit, kind of like we talked before, about what it takes to orchestrate?
Well, polls open at 7 a.m. and there's from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's polling hours. However, at 7 p.m., if 50 people are still in line to vote, they have to they be allowed to vote before they close 9. But at 7 o'clock, the poll managers, the poll clerk, will announce the polls closed. And a poll manager will go at the end of that line and stand there until all the voters are processed and voted, to make sure that no one else gets in line after
Right.
7 o'clock. But everyone that is in line at 7 o'clock, they are permitted to vote.
And so when the polls close and that is done, then what is the process for actually where do the results go? What happens at that point?
Okay, at the close of the precinct, the poll managers, there's a recording, a tape. They run a tape that shows the election, all the ballots cast, the candidate's name, number, and everything, and that is posted at on the wall of the door of the entrance of the precinct. Then there's a card in the computer that they physically take out, put it in a box, lock that box, seal that box with a sealer, record that serial number on the box with that card in there. They transport the card and all the voting material over to the Election Commission office. The Election Commission takes that card and enter that data into their computer and tabulates the ballots, count the ballots. Once that's done, at the end of the day, when all that is completed, we got final results, and then we will report the results to this city clerk with the Sarah Wright out.
Right.
That's Tuesday night. Thursday morning, we meet. When I say we, I'm talking about the Election Commission,
Yes.
Municipal Election Commission meets here and review any ballots that any questionable ballots, like challenge ballots,
Sure.
failed safe ballots or so, and determine if they can be counted or they cannot be counted. And wherever, and when that's completed, then whatever the numbers could change, because if we discover that a challenge ballot did not meet the criteria, then that ballot would be counted. So a person could have 100 ballots on Tuesday night and could end up with 101
Right.
Thursday morning. But Thursday morning is when we finalize the election and we certify
Right.
the results. That's the Thursday after the election.
Yes.
And then the second council meeting in November, the Election Commission certifies that election to City Council. And City Council, and then at that certification, the candidates, the winners, will then be sworn in. And that really brings to a conclusion that election cycle. But then the ballots are then placed in the city vault for 24 months. But the results are permanent.
Sure. Sure.
So that's basically.
That's quite a
yeah,
process.
Yeah.
And I know that you take a lot of pride, and it's very important to anybody who would serve on the commission that these steps are followed to the T, and that the processes go just as they have been. And I think it's just wonderful that the Municipal Election Commission has, over these 30 plus years, haven't had any trouble.
Well, that's one of the things I think we as a commission pride ourselves on, conducting elections really the way they're supposed to be conducted. And if you do that, you're gonna come out all right. But we're proud of that we have not had an official complaint of any election, and we have conducted many elections over the years. So we're pleased with that.
Yes, that's something to be very pleased about. And I know when we were talking earlier that's a big deal. I think that's a big deal.
And we've had good people. I mean, every good people to work with, good members of the commission. Everybody is just good to work with, and you had one thing in mind, and that's what is the right thing to do for the City of Aiken. You don't want to do anything that's going to cause negative publicity
Right.
for the City of Aiken.
Well, Richard, if there is one thing, as we're kind of coming to the close of our discussion today, if there's one thing that you could convey to our viewers, what would that be?
Whenever there's an election, please go and vote. Regardless to your preference of candidate, go and vote. That's a great privilege,
It is a great privilege.
and you shouldn't take it lightly.
No, you shouldn't. And we take so many things for granted this
Yes.
day and age.
Yeah.
But this is truly one thing that is a great privilege in our country.
And that's what we like. We like a busy election day.
Yes.
We like
Yes.
people to come out and vote.
Absolutely. Well, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you want to share with us as we're coming to a close today?
Well, I would say thanks to Aiken City Council for allowing me to serve on City Council, on the Election Commission. And I would say that I've tried to do my best to represent Aiken in the way that it should be, the nice city. And we're proud of our city, Aiken, and for what we do in the Election Commission. And on behalf of the election commissions that we've served with, thank you so much for your support. And we just hope that the City of Aiken continues to do the things that it does best, represents its people.
That's right. Richard, thank you so much. And we're so thankful to have a person with your integrity and character to be a part and chairman of our election commission. And I appreciate the opportunity to hear everything the election commission does. It's been quite an education for me today.
Well, thank you so much, and it's been a pleasure to be with you. And thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, certainly. Certainly. Well, we hope that all of you have enjoyed today. Remember to get out and vote on Election Day, and we'll see you next time for Aiken This Week.